Professor. It would seem to me that there is prima facie evidence to suggest that this credit-taking business is actually Western preoccupation. Would you agree?
It's Western what?
Preoccupation.
It is Western preoccupation, but it's also Eastern preoccupation.
Well, I can give you many examples.
It's universal preoccupation.
Not to the same extent. For example,
because Hiranyakashipu was not living in the West.
But anyway, I mean, in the modern context, relatively modern context, I can give you many examples. I think just two will suffice. For example, if you go to the British Museum, you will see there is a clay tablet which explains the principle of what is now called the Pythagoras' theorem. It was actually a Sumerian invention. Because the Sumerians believed that knowledge comes from the divine, and the divine is the ultimate fount of all knowledge, they would not dare put their name to it. But because Mr. Pythagoras, being a Greek, he was very resourceful, he found it, and he submitted it in his own name. Second example is...
well, because there's a limitation of time. But we can give so many examples from so many different instances, and they're all very valuable. But Krishna tells in Gita, and Krishna was speaking in Kurukshetra, which is in India. But he was speaking to the whole world. Prakriti Priyamanani Gunakani Ahankara Kardhaniti Manyati. Saying that the bewildered soul thinks him or herself to be the doer of activities, when actually they're being carried out by nature. And Maya, Krishna tells in Gita that I am the controller of material nature. So ultimately, Krishna is the doer. And in the East and in the West and everywhere else, it's the universal principle why everybody is in this material existence, from Lord Brahma down to the ant, is we want to think I am the doer, I am the enjoyer, I am the controller, I am the proprietor, on either big levels or small levels, according to our capacity. It is the principle of material bondage. Rishabdev was speaking to his sons. He lived in India. Janasya Mahoya Mahamameti. At the very core of all bondage is this misconception of I and mine. So if we say it's the Western idea, then the tendency is Eastern people think, I'm better.
That's debatable, but the thing is,
so you see, the other side of taking credit for things, the other side of the coin of taking credit for things is giving blame for things. So we should neither give blame or take credit. We should understand that we just have to surrender to Krishna and be humble, whoever we are. And I agree with everything you're saying, but it's universal. It's a universal principle. We could have millions of examples from the East and millions of examples from the West, and make millions of examples from above in the heavens, and millions of examples from below in the hells, and everywhere else. It's material existence.
Thank you.
So we all have to be humble servant of the servant of the servant to overcome this tendency. Is there any other questions? Yes,
when we give credit to others and when we become humble, sometimes consciously or unconsciously in our mind can come a thought like, oh, I'm humbler than others and I'm giving credit to others. This sort of attitude or thoughts can come in mind. How can we overcome such thoughts or attitude?
how to overcome
The
thought,
feeling that
how to overcome being humble. It's a very acute analysis of how Maya works. She can trap us on any level. Gauri Prabhu sometimes quotes that statement, but humility is not so much about, what is that? You're always quoting it, and I always ask you. It's not so much about thinking less about, what is it?
Thinking less of yourself or thinking less about yourself.
Yeah, Gauri, how do you say it?
I can't remember, but I'm very glad to receive the credit.
It's a really nice statement. And I know it, but I don't want to take the credit. I'm trying to give it to somebody else. You're all so humble, you won't say it. You want me to say it. And it's something like, it's not thinking less of yourself, it's less about yourself. I mean, not about less thinking about yourself, but thinking about yourself less. That means giving credit to others.
Not thinking less about yourself. Not thinking.
Krishna's really humbling you today. Ask your wife, she'll do it.
Not thinking less about yourself, but thinking about yourself less.
Yes, perfect. We must have sincerely, seriously, without ulterior motives, taken shelter of Krishna. We can't remember anything without Krishna. Sarvasya chaham hriti shani vishtam atasmiti jnanam apohanam cha. Krishna says, I'm the source of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. We can't take credit for anything we know. Krishna can blank us out in a second, or he can empower us in a moment. That's the beauty of bhakti. This is the dynamics of seeing Krishna work through us, through others, through the world. But we can only do that when we stop taking credit. But if we're acting humble and we're thinking I'm better than you because I'm more humble than you, that's what you're saying, I think. That means you're not humble. If you're proud of being humble, then you're not humble. One time, a devotee said to Prabhupada, I am the most fallen. And Prabhupada says, yet you are not the most anything.